हेलो अस्सलाम वालेकुम। रॉय प्रोडक्शंस की ताज़ा तरीन एपिसोड के साथ मैं हूं आपका होस्ट हारून साजिद। आज हम जिस शख्सियत का इंटरव्यू करने जा रहे हैं वो एक टीचर हैं, एक ट्रेनर हैं और एक एजुकेशनल कंसल्टेंट हैं। He's someone who has over 30 years of teaching experience. He holds a PhD from the US in educational psychology, 2 MEDs and an MSc in microbiology. Currently serving as the Vice Rector of the Forman Christian College, Lahore. I welcome Sir Cusrow J. Dubash. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. Starting right away, sir, why do teachers teach and why do you teach?
The second question is easier to answer. Why do I teach? I teach because that's what I want to do. I've always wanted to. Since I was in class 2 in school, I wanted to grow up and become a teacher.
Okay.
And that's what I've done for 36 years and still doing and will continue to do. So I am actually living my dream.
Okay, that's great to know.
Why do other teachers teach? You better ask them. They will have their own multiple reasons to share with you.
Okay.
But I think if you ask me generally why anyone should teach, it's because they love students. And if you don't love students, then you need to go and do something else.
Fine, very fine. Just growing up, what were the teachers that were most inspirational to you in your primary level or your intermediate? Yeah.
Primary, intermediate, none.
Okay.
The first teacher that I personally was impressed with was when I was in my MSc final year at Karachi University. And this lady had just returned fresh from the US, and her way of teaching, her way of interacting, I still remember I messed up on a quiz. I was called into her office and I was explained question by question what I could have done and so on and so forth. So
that was
the first
okay.
teacher
First
that really
Fine.
impressed me.
So, talking about your parents, what role did they play in your education growing up?
Both my parents were not educated. They were not even middle class, and so I think the role they played was giving us an education, providing the fees. Of course, it wasn't that expensive then, but still, when you come from an uneducated parental background and you know your finances are limited, I think the focus was, I still remember, my father never refused to buy me a book.
Okay.
But I have many times been told, no, I can't get a new shirt and I can't get a new pair of shoes and so on and so forth.
Okay. They never compromised regarding your education.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, from research publications on mosquito biochemical genetics to writing Living Planet series for middle school, how has been the journey, or should I say the transformation for you?
Oh, it's been great. As I said, I wanted to be a teacher since I was in class 2 in school. My parents wanted me to be a doctor. I enjoyed studying science, and that's why I had to do a FSC pre-medical.
Okay.
And then I went in my BSc and MSc and continued with the sciences.
Okay.
But once I got into teaching, the first 3 years of my career, I was doing the research bit on mosquito biochemical genetics, and I have 12 publications in that 3-year period. But then I wanted to teach, and so my first teaching opportunity, I grabbed it, and then you developed.
My next question is exactly about this. So tell us something about your professional life. What was your first job? When did you start?
My first job in a teaching institution was that of a lab assistant. So I was washing glassware and preparing chemicals and materials for other teachers. This was at the Lahore American School.
Okay.
And I did that for about 2 years, and then slowly I got a course to teach and then 2 courses to teach. And 10 years later, when I left the Lahore American School, I was the chairperson of the math science department.
Okay, wow, quite a story. So school administration is a proper field of education. How can principals here run schools without any expertise in this regard?
The way they've been doing so far, and because that's what they've been allowed to do by school owners, especially in the private system and even in the public system. You know, yes, you're right. I think school administration and supervision is a totally different field, and just because somebody has been teaching for 20, 25 years and just before you hit your grave you should become a principal does not make you into an effective administrator.
Fine.
So to overcome that, I think in-service administrative, educational administration trainings should be provided.
So talking about teachers in Pakistan, people often pick teaching as the last resort, as the last thing that they want to do. That is always, do you think that teachers are less invested in it due to that factor? Because
I think when you do something that you really don't want to do, you're not going to put your heart and soul in it.
Yeah.
Okay? You will put your heart and soul into something that you want to do. And so unless we make teaching attractive, unless we make teachers into professional individuals, and yes, give them a good salary, provide them with some status in society. If you think teachers have status today, times have changed. You have to earn that.
Yes.
And you can only earn it if you are professional. And so unless we do something, the government or even the private sector steps in and does something, teaching will always be a profession by accident.
Okay. So how do you think teachers can be role models, and shouldn't they be practicing of what they are preaching?
Children will practice what they preach if they see the teacher practicing what the teacher preaches. So that's how you become a role model. You don't become a role model by doing things that you want others to do, but don't do them yourself. So that's how one becomes a role model.
Okay, fine. So how can teachers teach better, and how do you differently teach your students?
I believe that student involvement is important. So you don't lecture and talk for an hour. You may lecture and talk for 15-20 minutes, but then you need to do something with the students, individually or in groups or some form. And with technology and stuff today, there are lots of wonderful options that students enjoy, that teachers could use to bring about exciting teaching.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So education for us has always been about tests, quizzes, exams, and even more exams. So how much role do you think exams play in a student's learning?
Don't you think life itself is an exam?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. But
at school,
well, at any level, I think quizzes, tests, and exams are an absolute waste of time.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. There are lots of other ways in which you can learn, because especially in our system, exam means you've got to rote learn.
Yeah.
And you rote learn, and then you can use nothing that you know. And so if you can't apply and use what you know, if you can't do anything constructive with your learning, it's of no use to anybody.
Yeah. Okay. So there is so much burden being put on students these days. My young nephew who is in class 1 was asked to write a few paragraphs on child labor as his homework. What exactly has got into our teachers?
Nothing. This teacher probably must believe in child labor, and what you should have written is, "Thank you, miss, but I'm the victim. How do you expect me to write child labor?" You know, I think being realistic is important. I think when the teacher shifts the onus of responsibility to the student or the parents at home and does not take that responsibility himself or herself, it's time for the teacher to leave and do something else.
So coming over to your duties at FC College, you are considered to be a hard taskmaster who imposes heavy fines on intermediate students on trivial matters. Your comment on this?
Number one, no, I don't fine students, whether it's trivial or major. I think there are other ways in which students can be trained to do the right things. And I don't own FC College, I work here only, and certain things come, there are policies, and thankfully it is the Chief Proctor and his team that does the fining and not me.
But they work under you for the intermediate knowledge.
They work for the college as well, just like me.
Very fine. Sir, after talking to a few intermediate students, I found out that you really take random visits to their classes. So So how do you gauge the performance of your teachers when you're not going there actually?
Well, I take my rounds randomly. Does not mean once a month.
Okay.
It means every day,
Okay.
and sometimes even twice and thrice a day.
Okay.
Because just because I've been to a teacher's classroom at 8 o'clock doesn't mean the teacher is now free for the day. I could get to his or her classroom at 11 o'clock again.
Yeah.
You see? So it is very consistent and regular,
Okay.
and gives you a feel of what's going on in reality inside the classrooms.
So sir, it's been more than 30 years in this profession. Didn't you get bored?
No,
Why?
because I get new students to deal with every year.
Okay. So your interest, it keeps growing on and on,
Yeah.
never fades away.
Mhm.
Okay.
No.
Any messages at the end that you would like to give students listening to you?
Believe in yourself. I think every child is capable. Believe in yourself, live your dream,
Okay.
because when you plan to live your dream, you will enjoy what you do,
Yeah.
and when you enjoy what you do, you are fruitful. Don't shy away from hard work. It hasn't killed me, and it's not going to kill anyone, and you'll survive too. So
Okay.
work hard and enjoy your life.
Fine. Thank you so much sir for your time. It was a pleasure meeting you. जी नाज़रीन, ये थे सर दुबाश, जिनकी बातों से यकीनन आपको बहुत कुछ सीखने का मौका मिला होगा। अगली दफ़ा तक के लिए मुझे दीजिए इजाज़त और जुड़े रहिएगा रॉय प्रोडक्शंस के साथ।